Welcome to Learning with Abby, U, and Satinella. Today we're going to talk about one of the most famous and influential presidents of USA, Richard Nixon. Let's get started. Richard Nixon. Check in. If you could make coronavirus go away for a day, what will you do? For me, I'll maybe go back to Taiwan and do different things like eat food, go to water park and all those. What do you guys think?
I think I would eat at a bunch of restaurants and maybe
Oh, you should.
go
My house is
overseas.
a good restaurant. You should come here and prepare for a table full of food. Next page. Word of the day. Swift. Too quick or fast. So if you can see here, this boy is very, really fast. So we said he's kind of swift. But this boy is very slow because he didn't really practice a lot. This dog is super fast. This are like fly very fast.
Yep.
Next video. We can do this later now. Okay. Intro. Richard Nixon was the 37th president of the USA. He was president from 1969 to 1974. He was born in 1913 in New Bern, California. His family was poor, but he was smart and able to pay his way through college. This is what he looked like when he's young, though. He attended Duke University Law School and began practicing law. When World War I started, he joined the Navy, and in 1946 he won a seat in the House of Representatives, and then won in the Senate 4 years after. And in 1952, he became vice president for 8 years to George D. Eisenhower.
Right, David Eisenhower.
Becoming a president. Nixon ran for presidency in 1960 against John F. Kennedy and lost. Then he ran for governor of California and lost. In 1968, he ran for president again and won. Some major things that happened during his presidency were the first moon landing, visited China, and of the U.S. involvement in the Vermont War Treaty with the Soviet Union. So when his presidency, he made America land on moon the first time with a human. See?
Yep. And also, when he visited China, that was really good for our relationship with China.
Because a lot of people are really shocked, like, oh my gosh, because nobody really talked to China. They're like part of the Soviet Union, and we don't like them. But then when he visited China and had a really good tree and they're really happy with each other, people was kind of shocked. And he also ended the Vermont War. I just ignore that ugly drawing. I just draw it up, but it's kind of, like that.
Yeah, we officially withdrew our troops from Vietnam under General Ford, or Gerald Ford. He was the president after Nixon, but yeah, Nixon really started ramping down our soldiers in Vietnam.
He also had a good treaty with the Soviet Union. That means they had a kind of like really happy and they're really good together, kind of like they're peaceful. The Watergate. So here's a bad thing happened. In 1972, 5 men were caught breaking into the Democratic Party headquarters in the Watergate building. Oops. Watergate scandal. Oopsie.
That just gives you more information.
Yeah, in Washington, D.C., it turned out that these men were working for Nixon administration. Nixon denied any acknowledgement of the breaking. He said that his employee had done this without his permission. However, later tapes were discovered that had recorded Nixon discussing the break-in. He was clearly had acknowledgement of them and had lied. The Congress was getting ready to impeach Nixon, and it was believed that Senate had to vote to kick him out of office. Instead of going through the ballot trail, Nixon resigned, and the vice president, General Ford, became president. So this is what he looked like.
So, quick question, Abby. How many presidents have been impeached by the House of Representatives?
I think 2.
3, actually. Can you name one of them?
Nixon.
Nope, Nixon was not impeached. He resigned before he could be, but there's 3 other ones.
Oh, Bill Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Jackson.
Not Andrew Jackson, Andrew Johnson.
Andrew Johnson.
Yep.
Jackson or Johnson. It could be really annoying.
And a recent president.
A region? What do you mean?
Donald Trump has been impeached by the House.
Ooh, I forgot about him. Oopsie.
Yep.
Oopsie.
But in order to be convicted, in order to have to leave the office, you have to also be convicted by the Senate. So the Senate has to have enough votes to kick you out. And in all 3 of the cases where the president got impeached, none of them were kicked out by the Senate. Here, though, Nixon believed that the Senate would have enough votes to kick him out of office. And so he said, I'm just going to resign. I'm going to give the presidency to Gerald Ford, so that way I won't be impeached.
And he won't have a bad face. So, do you want to watch the video?
I think yeah, sure. Click on it.
Okay. Here's Nixon. Oh, I forgot to open my zero screen sound. I know, he looks really funny. Oopsie. Oh, my bad. Yeah. I'm just going to use the password
Okay.
I have. Hi there.
Man, that must have been a crazy time. Don't you think... Ah! Would you please take that off? It's creepy. Dear Tim and Moby, I'm doing a report on Richard M. Nixon, but I don't know much about him. Can you help? From Gabby. Richard Milhouse Nixon was the 37th President of the United States. He served from 1969 to 1974. He's one of the most famous presidents in American history, though not necessarily for the best reasons. Well, Nixon's presidency will always be remembered for how it ended. All the good things he did were overshadowed by a political scandal that led to the only resignation ever by a U.S. president. But let's start at the beginning. Nixon was born in 1913 in Yorba Linda, California. Growing up, he was an excellent student. He attended Whittier College in California and the Duke University School of Law before starting his career as a lawyer. Nixon married Thelma Pat Ryan and joined the Navy in 1942 to help out with the U.S. efforts in World War II. When he returned from the war, Nixon decided to try his hand at politics. He was elected as a Republican to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1946 and to the U.S. Senate in 1950. As a senator, Nixon became a leading voice against the spread of communism. Oh, communism is an economic system where, ideally, all wealth is distributed evenly to everybody. It usually doesn't work out that way, though, and the leaders of communist countries usually end up with a huge amount of power. Anyway, Nixon's star was rising, so General Dwight D. Eisenhower picked him as his running mate for the 1952 presidential election. Eisenhower won, making Nixon, who was 39, one of the youngest vice presidents in history. After serving for both of Eisenhower's terms, Nixon made a run for the presidency in 1960. But he lost, just barely, to Senator John F. Kennedy. Then, in 1962, Nixon ran unsuccessfully for governor of California, so he announced that he was quitting politics entirely. Well, he clearly changed his mind, because 6 years later, he ran for president again. Voters in the 1968 election were comforted by the familiar Nixon, who represented stability in troubled times. Across the country, widespread dissatisfaction with the Vietnam War, racial tensions, and the economy were fueling riots and protests. Nixon defeated Democrat Hubert Humphrey on a platform that promised peace. Well, fighting in Vietnam continued for several more years, but Nixon finally fulfilled his campaign's promise with a ceasefire in 1973. In the meantime, he worked to fix the United States' relationship with two of its biggest rivals, the People's Republic of China and the Soviet Union. In 1972, Nixon shocked the world by becoming the first U.S. president to visit Communist China. It was the first step toward improved relations between the two countries. Then, fresh off this success, Nixon paid a visit to the Soviet Union. His meetings with Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev led to a declaration of détente, or easing of hostilities, between the superpowers. On the home front, he increased government aid to the poor and elderly and decreased defense spending. He also advanced civil rights by speeding up school desegregation. So, in November of 1972, he was re-elected in a landslide. Well, during the campaign, a seemingly small news story grew into a major scandal, one that would eventually bring down Nixon's presidency. On June 17, 1972, 5 men were arrested for breaking into Democratic Party headquarters at the Watergate office complex in Washington, D.C. With the help of a secret informant, 2 news reporters uncovered ties between the burglars and President Nixon's re-election committee. Over the next 2 years, investigations into the Watergate case revealed a series of illegal activities on the part of the Nixon administration. Stealing files and wiretapping were just some of the ways Nixon's people tried to harm the Democrats in the run-up to the '72 election. As more evidence came to light, many Nixon officials were forced to resign, and some even went to jail. Nixon himself denied any wrongdoing or knowledge of the cover-up. Then came a stunning revelation. The president had a secret taping system that recorded all of his conversations in the Oval Office. One tape revealed that Nixon did know about the cover-up, and that he even ordered his aides to try to stop the FBI's investigation. Once Nixon's guilt was clear, all support for him vanished. He faced almost certain impeachment, a congressional charge of criminal activity that probably would have led to his removal from office. To avoid this, Nixon resigned on August 9, 1974. Vice President Gerald Ford took over the presidency and later pardoned Nixon for any crimes he may have committed. True, but Nixon certainly paid for Watergate with his legacy. In his later years, he worked to repair his public image. He wrote books and articles, met with foreign leaders, and advised later U.S. presidents on foreign policy. Nixon died from a stroke on April 22, 1994, at the age of 81. But to this day, the Watergate scandal is a dark cloud that overshadows his many accomplishments. No, not like inventing the victory salute.
Okay, that's the part.
All right. Well, we hope you learned some more about our 37th president, and we will see you next time on Learning with Sachin Adams and Abby Wu.